man. I want to say thank you for being on my radio show, the Metal Mixtape. I'm a massive, massive, massive fan, dude. I've been into you guys since 2005 when you guys played Ozzfest. I got your autograph there, and I've seen you guys live 20 times, at least three times on every album. I've tried to see you guys live. The last time I saw you guys live was at the Roseland Theater in Portland when you played with Arch. Yeah, that was the last time I saw you guys live, and dude, it was just absolutely amazing. It's just an honor to talk to you, man. And
of course,
I love what you guys did with the new album and everything. And honestly, dude, like, you guys are like one of my favorite band on the planet. So for me, every album I've enjoyed. And one of the things I say when like why Trivium is my favorite band is because every album that you guys have released has a different emotion that I could express myself to, you know? So like, like with like Silence in the Snow, and like I could really sing to that album, I could
definitely
really sing to that album. With Shogun, I could really riff to it. And like, and honestly, the Crusade was like, honestly, one of my favorite ones. And I actually got my, my Trivium.
Oh yeah. I know that one.
Yeah. So I got it based off the Crusade because, like I was like, oh man, like a total like thrash album, man. It was just like, it was shredding. But I'm gonna start getting to the juicy questions here. You ready?
Cool. Yeah. Totally.
All right. Sounds good. So I want I've been such a huge fan, and I've known a lot about your music, watching all these live videos. But what I never knew is how you started playing music and what made you pick up an instrument. Like what was the inspiration?
Yeah. Well, what made me want to play music was about 3 of my friends. We were discussing playing our middle school festival, and so we all decided to pick instruments, and we started getting ready to, a couple months before the festival, start learning how to play. So I picked bass, and that was my real, like, the impetus to kind of start playing and start, learning how to play songs and playing with my friends. Like, pretty much right out of the gate, I was playing with bands. So that was really, I think, something that inspired me and wanted me to play. And when we actually played the festival, it was just such a rush that I never wanted to do anything else. I wanted to try to play music because it was just so fun. And that was, like, the big reason I started.
Dude, that's amazing. Were you ever inspired by, like, your family or anything? Or what type of music did you grow up listening to, like, in your household as a kid?
Well, my grandfather played piano since he was about, he played from maybe like 9 or 10 years old up until almost, the week or 2 before he passed away. He had played forever. So he was kind of my first musical inspiration. I definitely think any of my musical talents I probably got from him. For me growing up, I just kind of listened to, like, before I got into metal, I just listened to whatever was on the radio or on TV. So I kind of just, whatever was popular. And then when I kind of started discovering rock music, like my first album I ever bought was No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom, which I love. I still love that record. And I got into, like, a lot of punk, a lot more like stuff like Sublime, which was kind of popular at the time in the 90s. And it definitely was great, being a bass player. All that stuff has great bass lines. So I would learn that, and then I discovered Metallica. I saw King Nothing on MTV, and that was like my entry point into metal music.
Dude, I think that's absolutely badass. I remember when I was 12 years old. I'm 30 now, but the first music I ever got into was like Eiffel 65 when they dropped Blue.
Yeah.
And like Hybrid Theory. I remember those two are super massive for me, dude.
Yeah.
So, one thing I never really like truly know is how you joined Trivium.
Yeah.
You guys all live like in the same area when you're younger, but how did that gig come to be?
I'm from South Florida, and Trivium was based in Altamont Springs, which is like a suburb of Orlando. And we played a couple shows over the years. Like, I played a show in Daytona that they were on back when they were still a 3-piece. And then played a show together in Tampa, a festival, right when Corey, I think, had been in the band for a little bit, and they were about to, join up with one of their first tours, and they had a fill-in bass player. Their original bass player, Brent, he left the band after the first tour. He didn't want to do it, and then the fill-in guy didn't work for the second tour, and so I was kind of at a crossroads because I had just graduated high school. I had been in my own band for about 6 years. They needed a bass player. Kind of just hit them up and like, hey, I'm willing to do a tour with you guys, filling in. We'll just see how it goes. Like, there's no commitment. Like, I wasn't just like, I have to be in the band to do the tour. I wanted to know that I liked what they were doing and stuff like that. And we had to gel, and we had a great time. It was the Machine Head Chimera Road Rage tour. We opened that, and, it just clicked. And when we went from there, I was asked to join at the end of it. And then a month or two later, recording Ascendancy. And that was kind of just how it all started.
Dude, I think that's pretty amazing, man. And you know what? I think like what's really important in the band is like for like the band members and like just for there to be chemistry, dude. And like
100%.
Watching time in Ascendancy, I noticed that like you guys had a real connection, and you could really tell apart the bands who like are kind of just up there to play music and like kind of just get the hell out of there afterwards, or the band really enjoy playing live on stage and they look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have the chemistry on stage where it doesn't really, I don't know, you can't fake like having fun up there and enjoying the songs you're playing and the people you're playing with. At some point, it kind of just all, becomes apparent that you're not there for the right reasons. And, that's one thing we've always wanted to always have, in our band. And of course, we've had to go through some lineup changes and stuff to make sure that always remained that way. But, with the last 2 records, I think it's probably the best chemistry we've ever had in the band. It's just a really good vibe all around, and we're just having fun making music, and I think the music is better because of that.
Dude, no, and I completely agree, man. You want to be comfortable in like when you're writing music, and you want to know that the pieces are right. It's like it's like you're making a pizza over and over, but you're never sure about like this one ingredient, but then when you got that like one great marinara sauce, you're like, hell yeah, that's the fucking right one right there. We needed that 100%. Sauce, dude.
Yeah, totally. So, you gotta have the right ingredients.
So, dude, so coming from a fan, dude, I've always enjoyed, like I said, all your albums. Like every single one has something for me that I really enjoyed. But one thing that I noticed as a fan when I was like 17 or 18 is that after Ascendancy, and I'm sure you get this question a lot, and then you released the Crusade, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but like some fans were like, oh, what happened to like the Gutter Screams? And it's like a complete thrash album. And I remember like just listening to interviews of you guys of like, there was certain backlash. I personally loved it, Detonation, Tread the Floor, all that. I thought it was a fantastic album, but Did you deal with any backlash switching up styles immediately from certain people in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were kind of at that point. We had such so much hype from Ascendancy that doing something very drastic for whatever reason, we got the sort of the backlash from that. I think over time the album has sort of kind of held up a lot better and has like, I think, a new appreciation from a lot of fans, especially newer fans that kind of weren't around for that era, like in the immediate like aftermath of the release. So, I think sometimes time just has to kind of vindicate a record. I do think the one regret is like I just wish we had a little more time to work on things and kind of perfect it. But of course, it's like hindsight's 2020 because it's like I'm thinking about it now as someone who has learned what it takes to write records and how long you need and what you need to do to prepare. Coming off of Ascendancy, we were all still like 19 and 20, and we'd never written a follow-up record while having to tour and having commitments as a professional band. So it was a real learning experience, and we learned our lesson of like, it's really important to prepare before going into the studio and not leaving your ideas so loose going in there. And, it was I think we were also just under a lot of stress from all the touring we had done from Ascendancy. It was really new to us, as young guys going out on tour for the first time. So we kind of had to just like grow up really quick and learn a lot of stuff. So there's really no way to get around that. You have to kind of get thrown in the deep end and see what you can do if you can swim out of it.
Yeah, no, I dig it, man. I personally like one of my favorite things about your band too is that like with every album you guys keep it really fresh and creative,
Mm-hmm.
And I think when like in my opinion like when you're able to constantly express yourself and change up ideas and it's a lot easier to write a ton of music and a ton of new music. So,
totally. I think every record you go into, you got to really have a new angle, a new perspective. And I think you have to be in the moment and write what you feel and what you feel like is right at that point. I think every record should, in my opinion, every band, when you record, like it's a timestamp. You should have something that kind of relates to the era you are writing in. It's not formulaic. You're not delivering the same thing because that's not how it works. You've gone through something new in your life over the last year or two before recording. So you have to, impart some of that stuff into your music. And we just kind of let that happen naturally. We don't like try to force ourselves into like, this is how the Trivium record is meant to be,
Mm-hmm. No, dude. I think that's awesome, dude. I think that's one of like the greatest things. So, did it blow your mind at all that when you guys released Shogun, that a lot of people considered that like one of your guys' like best album, and in a lot of people's eyes the best album?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. I guess like compared to today, like when we release a record, I feel like the feedback from fans is very immediate, and we can see it more. I think the problem for us with Shogun was like we released it and the press was still kind of very wary of us after the Crusades. So I found a lot of like reviews and people's perspective of the record in press was very like, some of it was tepid and some of it was just kind of like, oh, it's good, but they're not the same band from Ascendancy. So I think we kind of viewed like at first we kind of felt like, oh, people just aren't getting what we're doing. But as we toured with the record, I feel like the fans really resonated and connected with that album. And by the time we got to In Waves, I felt like it was a lot more appreciated. But now it's become, one of our fan favorites. I think most fans, if I say, what are your top three, that one's usually one of the records on there. So it took a little bit of time as well. And, sometimes that's just how it goes. You release something and, maybe the press doesn't get it, but your fans resonate. And I would rather have a record that connects and still feels special years later than something that's like, a flash in the pan and then gone.
Yeah, no, I totally dig it, man. That's awesome. So one thing, this is like a real fan question from like me personally. So, a lot of my favorite songs are always like the B-side songs, the ones that aren't released albums. So like for example, like Darkness in My Mind and like Broken One.
Yeah,
like those are a lot of my favorite songs. I was wondering why a lot of great songs aren't necessarily put on the record. Is it just because you guys have a big bundle of songs and you kind of just want to fit a theme? Because like I listen to those songs and I'm just like holy shit, like those are powerful fucking songs. Like those are like those are great songs. Like like I would totally like I'm not Trivium, I'm not you guys, but I'd throw that one in there.
I mean, I think B-sides for us are kind of a thing of the past now, because what it used to be was that you needed extra tracks for different countries because physical copies were more of a thing. So a retailer like Target's like, we want an exclusive, so give us a song. So you end up recording all these extra songs, which are, you put your time and effort into them, so they're not bad songs, they're not filler. So now, like this record, we told the label that we were only going to record the music for this record, like 10 tracks you hear is what was recorded. Plus, we did 2 acoustic versions of songs, but not new songs. So we did that because, one, we wanted to focus in on the songs more. And we just know that, like, doing extra songs that are good enough to be on a record to not put them on. Like, if we need extra songs, we'll just go record the song. You know what I mean? Like, if someone's like, hey, this game wants you to write or needs a song, we'll go write the song. You know, but when it's time to do a record, it's like, we'll do that chunk of music then. You know, I don't look at the B-sides as like separate necessarily from the record. They're just not in the order that we picked. But I mean, they're still there. And now with digital music, I mean, essentially our catalog is a big playlist. So now it's all there. You know, it's such a different way of consuming music that, you know, the B-sides have a new second look and a second chance, because, you know, anyone that didn't have a special edition or the Best Buy edition now has it all.
No, that's awesome, dude. And yeah, I didn't know that. So thanks for clarifying that for me. Just because, like I said, like, dude, I'm like, I'll listen to these songs and like, honestly, like Broken My Darcis in my mind, like those are like two songs that like are like in my spam Trivium playlist.
Yeah,
that I'll listen to over and over and over, and in my head I'm just like, man, why aren't those in the album? So like as a fan, I never really understood that, you know. So so it almost made me think like in future albums, like, oh man, they might release like a exclusive album with those tracks on it, you know.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. Now they're on Spotify, they're on Apple, you know, it's all out there for people to hear.
Oh yeah, for sure. I always like having my physical copies, man, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. So I mean, I still have I'll just bring it down. This is like my original poster that I got in Ozzfest 2005.
Oh yeah.
And I got your guys' autographs on it, and dude, I've moved to like 7 different places, so it's all wrinkled up, but I finally got it in a frame.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and I remember in that poster, it was like the story was that like there's a lot of hype, and like it was Donington, right? And,
yes.
and I don't know if that Ozzfest DVD was right. Is that they moved you from like the second stage to the main stage? Is that correct?
Yeah, we were on like second or third stage, and what happened was we got a call because we did the Road Rage tour in the UK, and it went crazy. Like the reaction for us was like insane. So there was like 3 or 4 bands on the tour. There's like 3 bands, and so immediately like there's hype for us. Like it's going crazy. And then 3 weeks later, we're coming back to play Download. A couple days before Download, a slot opens up on the main stage for the opening set. Andy Copping, who is the main guy in England for Live Nation, he's like, you know, he wants to give us a chance to open it if we want. The only condition is that we have to do a day earlier than our set. So we had to leave the Road Rage tour in Europe and go straight to Donington to play the set. And there was no guarantee that anyone would be there. You know, it's an opening set. We're playing at like 11 a.m. on a Saturday. And they opened the doors. And that 2 weeks that had gone by since our Road Rage tour in the UK, that the word of mouth and the hype was so massive that like 40,000 people showed up for our opening set. And it was like, you know, never the same after that. That launched our band. We became, you know, a different band overnight, essentially.
Dude, that's absolutely fucking amazing, dude. So, what do you think was like your first big? I don't know. I think maybe you already answered the question, but like, what's your favorite show you ever played where it was like a big moment, like a big like, oh, my dream is a reality? I think you might have just answered that, but
yeah.
In case it's different, what would you say that show was? Where you're just like, and you're like, I did it.
I mean, I think the first show I ever played with Trivium was like on a personal level, like, wow, this is like something special. This is incredible. This is like what I've always dreamed of doing, you know, which was like traveling the country to play shows, not just playing local shows, but like, you know, we had driven from Florida to Cleveland, Ohio to play the first show of that tour. It was such a rush to play a show in a new state. And then the Donington show, Download, the first one, that was like where the band, I think we all collectively were just like, wow, like this is like more than we ever could have imagined. You know, it just felt like such a pinnacle. And it's crazy to think like we've been doing this for 16 years, and I've had the chance to get up on stages like that in front of crowds even bigger and do that. But still, the first one was like mind blowing, you know, because I didn't know if we'd ever get to do that again, or if it was just a fluke, you know. So I enjoyed it, but looking back, it was a special moment.
No, I think that's absolutely amazing, dude. So, dude, you're always playing shows with like other big bands, and you're doing all these like festivals. Did you ever have like an idol moment where like you met a musician you really looked up to, and they gave you a compliment that completely like cemented something in your heart that you wanted to hear? Did you ever have a big compliment moment from like an idol of yours?
Yeah, I mean, back around when we had released the Crusade and stuff, like, you know, we did a couple shows with Metallica, and I remember Kirk wearing our shirt, you know, a Trivium logo shirt while they were playing, and, you know, Lars and Kirk really loved Ascendancy, and it was just really awesome to have, like, you know, biggest idols praising your music and, like, actually coming and watching you play. And, you know, even still to this day, like, anytime we see those guys, or, you know, they always say hello, and they're really, really nice to us, and it's just so cool to, like, be in the same world as those people, you know? I mean, we're doing our own thing, and we've lasted and become a good-sized band in our own right, but it's always still really, you know, amazing when people you look up to kind of know about you and give you a shout-out or listen to your music. Yeah, no, dude, I know if that ever happened to me, I'd shit myself, so I think that's so awesome. And you know what? As weird as it sounds, dude, like, being like I always say, like, another reason why you guys are like my favorite band, because like I feel like I grew up with you guys, you know? Yeah, like, totally. Like I got in like other bands, like maybe from the 80s, like, you know, like when I got into them, there were 6 albums in, but when I got into Trivium, I was like, dude, like, you guys were playing the second stage of Ozzfest, and I almost felt like I grew up with you guys, because like I'm 30 now, and you guys aren't that much older than me. And I remember just watching you guys, like, man, like you guys are evolving, and I felt like just personally, like, as a person, I was evolving as well. So it was really easy for me to just completely like translate my feelings with your guys' albums as you guys were progressing, you know? Totally. Yeah, so I was just like, dude, yeah, it's the shit, dude. So the new album, dude, by the way, I fucking love it. I've been spamming it like crazy. And one thing I love about every album is that the whole album isn't necessarily just like in my opinion, like, one, just heaviness the whole time. You guys add a lot of melodies and a lot of breakdowns. So it's like every album allows me to express myself in a heavy metal way in every song, you know? So like depending on how I'm feeling that day, I could switch from What the Dead Man Say to The Defiant, or just like, and just switch up my emotions, you know, all based on how I feel. And when I can listen to one album that way, it's just like that's an album I never skip a track on, you know? Totally. It's like, all right, I can listen to this, and like I can have a little bit of everything, you know? Like, you guys, you know, a song can get brutal and just straight blast beat it, or you guys can write catchy choruses and hooks, and like that's even like the order you guys like release your singles, you know, like the Catastrophist, what the Dead Man Say, Among the Shadows and the Stones. Yeah, you know, and then just every single dude was like absolutely sick. So this is your second album with Travis. I'm not Travis, Alex. Sorry. Alex Bent, yeah, my boy. And you know, the Sin in the Sentence, dude, I thought that was like such a punch in people's faces, you know, like it was like when I first heard it, like, and I'm sure a lot of people heard it, was like, holy shit, you know. And it's one thing too is like it's like you guys keep just changing up the sound, like, you know, it's not necessarily like you guys are changing, like Alex, by the way, is an amazing drummer. But just like the riffs and like I feel like the energy behind it just completely changes as you guys are writing songs as well, you know. So like when you came out with your first single, The Sin in the Sentence, it was just like, holy shit, like it was almost like you guys were like it was like some big battle in Avengers, you know, and then all of a sudden like some big light in the background showed up, and everybody stops fighting and looks behind them and goes like, who the fuck is that, you know?
like that, nah,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
running through,
totally.
dude. So with what the Dead Man say, dude. So I know you were telling me there's not really like a theme behind it, but do you guys, when you guys know you're gonna write a new album, do you guys start working on new music then, or is it just ideas that you guys have had in the past that you wanna
I mean, we always have a collection of stuff, always kind of constantly writing stuff. We have old stuff. We have stuff, you know, back few records that we just never used. That's great. Just never had the right moment, you know, maybe a riff that could come back that just didn't have a song that really worked. So that's something we always have. The big thing is just really always kind of looking out for good lyrical ideas and keeping them on a note sheet or on your phone. So writing is like always on a constant basis. We don't have like a set period of time. There will be a time when it's like, okay, we will be recording in this month, so we need to start really putting everything together. But ideas are always flowing.
Dude, no, I think that's badass, dude. So one thing I want to know too is like when you guys were trying out drummers before Alex, like when he came in the room, was it just like two peas in a pot, or how did that whole process go?
Yeah, we just, you know, we had a guy that was kind of like sort of a I guess you could say kind of like a hired guy for our touring, for the rest of the Silence in the Snow tour. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like a good fit. So we put out some feelers to people we know that know drummers. You know, Mark Lewis, good friend of ours, great producer. He had worked with Alex before on the Battlecross stuff. And he was like, hey, Alex is available now. Because when we were looking for people, Alex wasn't available the year before. And, you know, we talked to a couple drummers, like really good drummers, but either their schedule didn't work or they weren't really committed to joining a new band, something like that. But Alex was not only available, but we saw his, he played Rain, was the first song he played, sent us a video, and we're like, you know, this guy's incredible. And we flew him out and we jammed, and it just connected immediately. Not only did we learn, you know, we had him learn a bunch of old songs so we could get ready for a tour we were going to do, but we also had him start writing with us immediately, which is very important because, you know, we kind of needed to have both those things connect. Someone can be really great and play old songs, but can they write with us? Can they like vibe with what we do? And it immediately fit, you know, and I think we've never had a better, you know, relationship with someone in our band like Alex, you know, a drummer in our band that connects on all levels, and just we all get along really good. And that's really, you can't really, I wouldn't have it any other way right now. It's perfect.
No, dude, I'm beyond excited, dude. And you know what? I can't wait for things to calm down in the world just so I could
Totally.
watch that album, dude. Because like, and, you know, and I appreciate you guys still releasing the album during this whole time, you know, because like I thought it was like good for all the fans and just a good way for us to think about like some positive stuff that we love, you know.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it was very important to put it out, you know, for ourselves. We had worked on it so long, we didn't want to hold it back, and we felt like people really needed something positive in the moment, especially, you know, in April when it seemed like things were going to be locked down for a long time. Didn't want to disappoint people and pull, you know, something out from under them that they were expecting. And it worked out really great. I think people loved that it came out. We actually ended up doing a lot better than I thought we were going to do on our first week sales, because people were streaming the hell out of it and buying stuff. So it was all around felt like a victory for us.
Dude, and hey, you know what? It's always a victory for us fans as well, dude. So it's 100% likewise, dude. So now I'm gonna ask you kind of like some off the ball questions, like unrelatable to Trivium. By the way, I love it. I love everything. So what do you love doing in your off time, dude? When like you're not playing music, unless you just play music 100% of the time. But do you have like any other hobbies or little things you like to like preoccupy your time?
Well, I've just started streaming over the last 2 weeks, so that's definitely a new, I wouldn't say it's purely a hobby, but it's definitely a new element to what I do. You play a little bit of games and stuff with my friends, which is always fun. Nice way to kind of relax in the evening, just kind of have a good time, and also ties into the streaming. And, for me, like, music is such a part of my life that it's more than just the job, it's more than a hobby now. It's like a mixture of all those things. So it's really all consuming in a good way. Like, I don't let it like totally dominate everything, but I love to play. I love to be able to just sit down and jam. That's like never probably going to change.
No, absolutely, dude. And, following you on Instagram, dude, you're always hanging out with your puppies, dude. You're always hanging out with your dog, dude. Like, I love that. I got a little chihuahua. Do you love just going out with your dogs, walking them?
Yeah. Yeah, take them on the roof, take them for walks. They're fun to hang with. They're all they're really got an interesting personalities. And I love them both.
Oh yeah, I think dogs are like the best listeners.
Totally.
You could have a good day or bad day, and the dog is still there trying to lick your face, like, hey man, I still love you, dude.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, they are. They're great. They're so great.
That's awesome, dude. So one thing I bet like I'm Mexican, so I'm always like eating Mexican food, and we're always switching it up with Italian and all that. And you guys have traveled everywhere, dude. Is there like is there a certain place you like to tour at where you're just like, oh, I can't wait to get off the bus so I can get myself some delicious food? Is there a certain
probably
spot like
Japan? Probably Japan. It's just endless. I obviously having Italian background, food is such an important part of Italian culture, as most cultures. But Japan definitely takes it to a whole nother level with all the different styles of food they have. It's endless. I vacationed there 2 years ago because I feel like touring there is not enough. So I had to go, and I wanted to be there for 2 weeks, and it was incredible. I could definitely live there if I had to for a year just to eat.
Well, was that like one of those spots where you're just like you almost didn't want to leave?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great to come home, and after all that stuff. But it's just nice to just be immersed in a whole different place and different food and different atmosphere.
You anywhere you've ever played, have you ever had like a culture shock?
I think the first time we played in Japan felt like that, because at that point we had only toured in the U.S. and in Europe, and not that Europe was like, the same as the U.S., but I'd been to Europe before. I have family from there, so I had vacationed in Italy before, so I kind of had an understanding of like what it was going to be like. But Japan just felt like totally foreign in such a really good way, and I've always loved when I feel like we're really in a different place than what we're used to. And now it feels like the world has shrunk so much that it feels like a lot of places we go to feel like familiar, which is a nice feeling, when you don't feel like so foreign and alien in every place you go to. And now, there's still places we've yet to go, which I'm sure we'll have that experience again. But it's always just so nice to just be in a place that has something different, and it gives you a new perspective on life and how things can be.
Dude, no, I completely agree, dude. So we only have a couple things left before I let you go, and it's just a couple fan questions that I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song you wrote in the band, and what's your favorite song? What's the songs you really are excited to play live off the new album?
All right. Well, I definitely have quite a few of my favorites, but I think In Waves is probably the one I'll probably always be really proud of, because it was so different compared to what came before it for us. And I feel like it really kind of gave me my song that I feel like I can be like, okay, that's like one of my definitive songs. Even though I could probably do that for a couple others, I do feel like that one for me is that's the one I'll always feel probably the most proud of, that it happened, that I was able to make that work, and that we jammed it and turned it into something really special and unique. Off the new record, I want to play them all. I'm doing an album playthrough this week on my stream, so it's gonna be fun to like jam them all. And but of course I want to play the title track. I want to play Catastrophist. I just want to play a good amount of these songs on tour when we can actually get back out there.
Dude, that's awesome, dude. So, do you want to do me two last favors before you go?
Yeah, yeah, of
Sweet.
course.
So my guitar player in my band, before I joined the band with them, one thing we noticed, like in practice, is that we both had Trivium tattoos.
Uh-huh.
And would you care to say like, hi, Rusty? This is Paolo from Trivium.
Yeah. Okay. You just want me to say it whenever?
Yeah, just whatever. Sorry.
Okay. Hey, Rusty. It's Paolo from Trivium. I heard you got a Trivium tattoo as well. Thank you so much for supporting us. Hopefully, we'll see you out when we're touring again, when everything kind of chills out and gets back to normal enough, whatever that is.
That's awesome. And last but not least, can you say this is Paolo from Trivium and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape?
Hey, this is Paolo from Trivium, and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape.
Paolo, thank you so much for making time, dude. Honestly, like, like for me, like, dude, I've played big shows. I've played a couple big shows, and like, the thing is that like when you finally get to talk to your favorite band on the planet, it's a little different and it's a little personal. So even when like you said you were cool with doing the interview thing, you know, at work I let out a scream, dude, and I fell to my knees, dude, just 'cause I was so damn excited that the band I've been following for 16 years and seeing, you know, I try to see live and buy merch and like everything. I was like, I actually get to talk to one of them, you know, instead of like waiting by a distance, you know. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, man, that you made one of my dreams come true, and I appreciate it so much.
Of course, man. Well, I'm glad to have done it, and thank you so much for, you know, hitting me up and doing the interview.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, you have a good rest of your day, and much love, Paolo.
Thank you. Take care. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.
See ya.